Terje Vigen by Henrik Ibsen. There lived a strange and grizzled man on a bare island far out. He never harmed a single soul on land or on sea thereabout. At times fierce sparks from his eyes would light when stormy weather arose. Then people said, he is mad all right, and then there were few who felt no fright when Terje Vigen came close. He was old when I saw him once, his craft with fish lay moored by the quay. His hair was white, but he sang and laughed, and brisk as a boy was he. He had a jest for each lass on the pier, with children he was full of fun. He sprang aboard and waved them a cheer, hoisted the staysail for home to steer, the old Sea-Hawk in the sun. I want to relate what I have heard of Terje from start to end, but if it should seem a bit dry at times, on its truth you can depend. The story does not on hearsay rely, but told by friends who knew him best, from those who at his bed stood by, who saw him at a ripe age die, and laid his body to rest. He was in his youth a headstrong lad, left home at an early age. Of wrecks and of hardship his shares he had, he learned how the sea can rage. Jumped ship from his apprentice place, some thought he saw life as a toy. He wished for home and familiar ways, no one there knew the young man's face he had left as a beardless boy. Now he was handsome and tall and strong, with a look that friends might win. His mother and father were dead years long, and so was all of his kin. So Terje grieved for a day or two, then shook his broad shoulders free. With land beneath him no rest he knew, nay, better make his home on the blue, on the vast and surging sea. A year thereafter Terje wed, the wooing was short and sweet. He repented this, or so folk said, it fettered his roving feet. But the sailor stayed by his own fireside, one winter of married bliss. The windows, polished with careful pride, showed flower pots and curtains neatly tied in the little red cottage of his. When the ice broke and the thaw wind blew, off in a brig Terje sailed. In autumn, when southward the wild geese flew, he saw them as northward he trailed. Then fell a weight on the seaman's mind. He was conscious of youth and strength, returning from shores where the sun was kind. A world of life and light lay behind, and ahead the dull winter's length. They anchored. Off went his mates full cry, their eager thirst to souse. He followed their path with a longing eye as he stood by his quiet house. He stole a look through the window pane. There were two in the small homestead. His wife sat winding yarn on a skein, and there by her side he saw it plain, a laughing baby on the bed. They say that Terje from that first sight grew suddenly quiet and grave. He loved to rock his girl at night, he toiled like a willing slave. When the dance rang loud from the neighbouring farm, through the Sunday evening air, he sang the old sea shanties to charm little Anna who lay on his arm, and played with his dark brown hair. So years drew on to the bloody war in 1809. Legends abound of hardship sore, there was hardly any grain at the time. By English cruisers the ports were barred, all despair and sickness bore. The poor went hungry, the rich fared hard, for Terje's strength fate had no regard, and death stood at every door. So Terje grieved for a day or two, then shook his broad shoulders free. He turned to his friend, both tried and true, the vast and surging sea. On the western coast they are still beguiled by this courageous deed of note. When the wind, they say, blew a bit less wild, Terje Vigen rowed for his wife and child over sea in an open boat. The smallest dory that he could find he chose for the daring quest. Mast and canvas he left behind, so he thought his chances best. He hoped he could reach the Danish shore by rowing the wild wave's crest. Bravely he'd face the breakers' roar, but feared the English man-o'-war, with their eagle eyes in the nest. So Terje bent his strength to the oar, and trusted himself to fate. He came safe and sound to the Danish shore, and loaded his precious freight. God knows, his cargo was nothing grand, and yet to him it was life. For Terje came from a barren land, and 3 small barrels of barley in hand meant survival for child and wife. 3 days and nights to his grueling task bent the sailor, strong and grim. On the 4th, as sunrise flooded the sea, he glimpsed an outline dim. Aye, peaks and vales, they were mountains true, not shifting cloud banks grey, but high over all the heights he knew a familiar landmark, broad and blue, and recognized where he lay. The last few strokes he was almost home, then he'd be safely there. His grateful eyes looked up from the foam. He came nearer to breathing a prayer. Then suddenly his hopes ran aground. Startled, his face turned pale, for close to the shore and inward bound, an English corvette in the nearest sound was luffing with reefed-in sail. His boat was spied. They promptly closed, the only escape in sight. A fresh new wind from east now rose, as westward he took his flight. They lowered their tender, and on him turned. He could hear the seamen shout. Bracing his feet, the danger he spurned. He rode so the water spouted and churned, and blood from his nails ran out. They call it the Gosling, a hidden shoal, just eastward of Homburg Sound. In a sea wind, heavy the breakers roll. At 2 feet deep there is ground. On the calmest day there's a cloud of spray, with a yellow gleam from below. And let the swell roar loud as it may, inshore there is mostly a sheltered bay, unswept by the undertow. Straight for this haven his small boat flew, like an arrow shot from a bow. In his wake a strong and well-fed crew, they laughed as they saw him row. To God, Terje cried through the breakers' roar, loud in his awful dread. Just there, on the famine-stricken shore, my wife and child faint by the door, they are starving for lack of bread. But louder cried the pursuing 10, in tune with the strong man's boast. The Almighty favours the Englishmen when plundering Norway's coast. Then Terje's boat reached the hidden reef, but the tender struck it aft. Halt! The loud command of the chief. He raises an oar in that moment brief, and drives it in Terje's craft. In comes the sea with an angry spate, as the shattered timbers part. In 2 feet of water the precious freight sank, but not Terje's heart. Despite their weapons, he dashed through the crew, and over the gunwale sprang. He dived, he swam, and he dived anew, but their boat got clear when he came in view. Swords clashed and muskets sang. They hauled him up, a gun salute roared, for triumph from the corvette. Tall and proud when they took him aboard stood the captain, not 20 yet. Terje's small boat was his maiden prize. He stood with arrogant head, but there were tears in Terje's eyes. This strong man begged with pleas and sighs, as he knelt with a heart of lead. His pleading they contemptuously ignored. They mocked at his misery. The easterly wind swept out of the fjord, England's conquering sun to see. Then Terje was silent, all hope blast. No words had his torment now. It bewildered his captors to see how fast a look that shot like lightning passed, and left just a sombre brow. Long years in the prison Terje spent, as many as 5 they say. He dreamed of home till his back grew bent, and his dark brown hair turned grey. He held the one hope that yet was his, in silence with stubborn grip. Then came 1814, with peace. The Captain Norseman got his release, was sent home on a Swedish ship. At his homestead pier, ashore he ran, with a pilot licence in hand. But few recognized the grizzled man who long ago left the land. His house had been sold. What had become of the 2 he had tried to save? When the sailor left on the sea to roam, they starved. They found their eternal home in the parish filled in a grave. Years passed, a living his pilot trade won on a bare island far out. 'Tis certain he did not harm anyone, on land or on sea thereabout. At times, fierce sparks from his eyes would light when the roaring waves arose. Then people said, he is mad all right, and then there were few who felt no fright when Terje Vigen came close. One evening, the pilots were all on alert. There was wind, and the moonbeams lit an English yacht that threatened to skirt the rocks with her canvas split. The fluttering signal told her tale, and mutely for help she cried. There crept towards her a boat under sail. Tack by tack it beat up the gale, till the pilot climbed up her side. He grasped the wheel with a strong, calm hand. Brilliant turns the sea dog showed. She answered the helm, stood off from the land, while astern his boat was towed. A lord, with his lady and child, drew near. The pilot touched hand to brim. I will make you rich for many a year, if out of the breakers you get us clear. But the pilot just stared at him. He paled, then he smiled like one who found an answer he long had sought. He let the wheel slip, and fast aground went the beautiful English yacht. She will never answer the rudder more, no saving her here she will break. To the boats, I know a safe channel inshore. Let my lord and my lady with me go before, and the others follow my wake. His boat cut a phosphorescent track towards land with its precious freight. Stern stood the pilot, tall and black, in his eyes were triumph and hate. To leeward the gosling his glance could note, to windward the sounding view. He let sheet and tiller go, and smote with an oar so hard in his little boat that he drove the bottom through. In came the sea, all surging white. There was struggle and wild alarm, but the mother lifted pale with fright her daughter high on her arm. "Anna, my darling child," cried she. Then Terje shook to his soul. He caught the sheet, put the helm alee, and the boat like a gull took the sea as he struck on the hidden shoal. She sank, but they were all safe at last from the threat of the raging seas. On a reef the shipwrecked souls were cast, the water came just to their knees. Then the Englishman seemed to stagger and reel. He cried, "It's just shifting sand," and the pilot smiled. "Nay, do but fill. A sunken boat with 3 barrels of meal is the shoal on which we stand." Like a lightning strike on his lordship's mind flashed the half-forgotten deed. Once more he saw on the corvette's deck the captive, and heard him plead. Then Terje Vigen said, "You flung away all I had for a triumph sweet. A moment more and the debt you pay." Ah, then 'twas the proud lord's turn to pray at the poor Norse pilot's feet. Terje, grasping the oar, stood still, erect as in youth he seemed. In his eyes burned strength and dauntless will, his hair in the sea wind streamed. "You sailed in your great corvette," he said, "I rowed in my tiny craft. For dear ones at home I toiled half dead. You thought it naught to take their bread, at my bitter tears you laughed. Fair as a flower is your lady grand, her white hands smooth and fine. Hard work had roughened my good wife's hand, but all the same she was mine. A gift from God is your blue-eyed maid, with gold hair and skin unflawed. No one's gaze to my sad Anna strayed, like poor people's children her face would fade. She ate at a starving man's board. But, mark you, these were my riches on earth, they were all that I called my own. It waited with you as of little worth, but here were my heart's seeds sown. Now strikes the hour of settlement, you shall pay, with a moment's stress, the long account of the years I spent, that greyed my hair, my shoulders bent, and made wreck of my happiness. He seized her ladyship round the waist, on his arm the little one tossed. Stand back, your lordship, or you will taste how your wife and child are lost. Poised to spring stood the Briton aghast, but his head felt weak and light. He was gasping for breath, his eyes downcast, and his hair, when the slow dawn came at last, turned grey in a single night. Then Terje became calm and clear. His soul now was free and at rest. He gave back the child, his eye shed a tear, as his lips to her small hands pressed. He exhaled like a captive freed from his chain, and calmly he turned to speak. Now is Terje Vigen himself again. Till now I had fever in every vein. There was vengeance, vengeance to wreak. The years in the prison's choking night, they sickened my heart and hope. In despair there was no wrong nor right. Reason fled on that slippery slope. But now we are quit, this day I bless. You pay me the debt you owe. You took my all, and I give no less. If ye think to come short, you must seek redress from the God that made me so. At break of day all hands were safe, in port lay the yacht and crew. Of the night's strange tale they had naught to say, though the fame of the pilot grew. His burden of pain, of grief and of hate had been swept away in the wreck. The spring had come back to Terje's gate, gone was the stoop that had been his fate since that day on the corvette's deck. The English lord and the lady came, and with them came many more. They wrung his hand and they blessed his name as they stood in his humble door. For rescue brave from the waves' fierce dread they thanked him, but Terje smiled, and gently stroking the golden head, "The one you should thank stands here," he said, "you were saved by the little child." When the yacht swung round the Hesnes Sound, the Norse flag flew at her mast. Just westward surf marks the shallow ground, guns saluted as she passed. Then Terje watched till the sail grew small, the old man's eyes were wet. "Much have I lost, much gained withal, maybe 'twas the best for each and all. Dear God, we are ever in thy debt." He was old when I saw him once, his craft with fish lay moored by the quay. His hair was white, but he sang and laughed, and brisk as a boy was he. He had a jest for each lass on the pier, with children he was full of fun. He sprang aboard and waved them a cheer, hoisted the staysail for home to steer, the old Seahawk in the sun. In his hometown churchyard a grave you'll find, in a weather-beaten spot. 'Tis all untended, the place not signed, except the stone that marks the plot. There, Terje Vigen in letters neat, with the date of his death is seen. It lies where the sun and the sea winds beat, coarse grass covering head and feet, but with wild flowers in between.